The United States Tournament of History. We have on one corner, from Festus, Missouri, the pride of the Partney family. Let me give a nice round of applause for Sawyer Partney. And funny as it is, also from Festus, Missouri, and also the pride of the Rowland family, we have Chloe Rowland. Mr. Croswell, is there any rules that you need to explain before you?
Okay, Sawyer has won the toss, so Sawyer has elected to have the final closing statement, which means Chloe will make the opening statement, okay? Audience who is new to this, each contestant will have an opening statement, they each will have a chance at rebuttals, and then they each will have a final statement. Okay, we're here to demonstrate good sportsmanship, right? At a high level of academia, all right? Any questions? Okay. So Chloe will be representing Clara Barton today. I'm not going to introduce Clara to you because she'll do a great job of it, I'm sure. And Mr. Partney is representing Alessandro Volta, who you will also be introduced to. Okay? Do we need to shake hands before we begin? All righty. One last round of applause for these two.
Clara Barton is the most impactful person in history. She founded the first free public school in New Jersey, worked as one of the first females in a government position, was a battlefield nurse, and her most meaningful achievements was founding the American Red Cross organization in 1881. The Red Cross responds to approximately 70,000 disasters in the United States each year, and helps an average of 150,000 military families and veterans. To this day, the Red Cross continues to help millions nationwide as a non-profit organization.
In 1800, a man by the name of Alessandro Volta invented something that would forever change the course of human technology, now known as the battery. He discovered methane, figured out how to isolate it, and then developed it further into fuel. Lastly, he created the basis for the internal combustion engine, which is still used throughout the industrial world today. The battery is vital to the United States economy, projected to gross at least $138 billion this year in single-use batteries alone. And according to TechLinkCenter.org, electric vehicle batteries are expected to top $84 billion by 2025. The UN estimates that approximately 6 billion people have access to a cell phone, while only 4.5 billion have access to working toilets. Of those 5 billion people actually owning a mobile device, and over half of these people own smartphones, which, believe it or not, rely on batteries to operate.
Clara Barton was an advocate for the movement and advancement of black rights, civil rights, and women's rights. Any earthquake, flood, or hurricane in America, the Red Cross is there for relief and support, thanks to Clara Barton. As many of you will remember, on May 22, 2011, an EF5 tornado touched down in Joplin, Missouri. The tornado ended up killing up to 161 people and left thousands homeless. Within hours of the tornado hitting the region, the American Red Cross opened shelters in Missouri and Minnesota to provide protection and comfort for people whose homes were damaged or destroyed. Without Clara Barton's efforts in incorporating disaster relief into the core mission of the American Red Cross, many more would have died.
According to INC.com, the average person spends over 4 hours a day on their mobile device, and since there are an estimated 5 billion people who own a mobile device, this means that there are 20 billion hours a day spent on mobile devices, which tops out at 7.3 trillion hours a year, and isn't possible in the slightest without the battery.
Alessandro Volta was a very intelligent man and came up with many ideas. Or did he? Volta is famously credited for discovering methane gas, and yes, he may have been the first to experiment with it, but he didn't solely discover it. According to Bioinformatics Portal Online, it was the Italian physicist Alessandro Volta who first isolated methane in 1778. He had read about flammable air that had been described in a paper written by Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of the United States of America, but also a scientist and ingenious inventor, proving that without Benjamin Franklin, he might not have even sought out work. So shouldn't we be thanking Franklin?
Even though Benjamin's journals wrote about methane, and flammable gas. Benjamin never actually named methane or isolated it like Alessandro Volta did. That's why it's credited to him as a discovery.
The Red Cross supported U.S. service members and their families during the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and conflicts in the Middle East, as well as providing aid to victims of disaster, including Hurricane Katrina in 2005, the 2010 earthquake in Haiti, and Hurricane Sandy in 2012. They are also currently providing support and relief to those affected in the Nashville tornado early Tuesday morning.
Another product of the battery is the generator. Generators have a wide variety of uses, including backup power for your house, standby power for businesses in the case of power outages, temporary power for construction sites, often used when the building they're working on hasn't been connected to power yet, and even permanent power for farms. Facilities also using generators include mission-critical facilities, data centers, schools or universities, hotels, resale establishments, and government installations.
Clara helped establish rules at the Geneva Convention that would eventually save many soldiers' lives. Some of the rules she helped get passed are that ambulances and military hospitals will be neutral, meaning that no matter the side of the battle you were fighting for, the Red Cross would still care for you. She also helped establish the rule that even as a prisoner of war, you would still be treated with respect and like any other patient. Among the National Archives holdings is a 12-page petition that Clara Barton wrote to the United States Senate's Committee on Foreign Relations supporting a bill for the protection of the national and international insignia of the Red Cross, together with the incorporation of its national association. In her letter, Barton discussed the importance of the Red Cross symbol and the need for its protection, as well as the necessity of the incorporation of the American National Red Cross and its work in both wartime and natural disasters.
Transportation as we know it today is not possible without Volta. His methane combustion method is responsible for powering all methods of transportation without batteries, along with batteries powering everything not using combustion engines.
After consulting with the high school and middle school history departments, I have come to find out that Alessandro Volta isn't part of any taught curriculum, but Clara Barton is. So if he isn't even important enough to be taught about, why should he be called the most impactful? Clara Barton, on the other hand, is not only taught about in middle school and high school, but is also taught to nursing students.
Could everyone with a cell phone please raise their hand? Now, could everyone who's been helped or impacted by the Red Cross raise their hand? Awesome. According to redcross.org, the American Red Cross helps slightly above 100 million people yearly. There's more people driving a car or using their cell phone right now than the Red Cross helps in a year. Along with the fact that unless they want to walk from their headquarters in DC or boat across the Atlantic in a sailboat, anywhere the Red Cross's personnel travels, they'll need a vehicle using Volta's combustion method or a battery-powered vehicle.
In 1905, Clara formed the National First Aid Association of America, which offered first aid kits and emergency preparedness instruction. She served as the president of the organization, which would eventually become part of the American Red Cross. How many of you have seen one of these? It's a first aid kit. How many have used something out of one of these? Barton was one of the reasons that they became common. She helped develop the popular use of them, and now you can find them everywhere. Thanks to Barton, we have first aid kits almost every public place we go.
Every year, the American Red Cross saves approximately 20 million lives, but you know what happens to all this with blood transfusions? But you know what happens to all this blood after it's taken? Of course, the blood is drawn first, but then it's put on ice until they're ready to process it. Next, the blood is separated with a centrifuge, of which are often battery-powered. Furthermore, the blood is transported by a vehicle, which either uses the combustion method or a battery. Next, the blood is tested for diseases by a battery-powered computer. After this, the blood is kept in storage, finally being transported when it's called for, once again using a vehicle. The point being that a lot of the blood donation process simply isn't possible without Volta.
Although Volta may have invented the battery, he was a white male. He had the right to invent and the freedom to do as he pleased. Barton was a woman in the 1800s, where she barely had any rights at all, and she still made more of an impact. She had to fight to have her voice heard, and she had to work harder than any man to be successful. She overcame those obstacles, and she helped shape our world.
According to Newswire.com, in the U.S., the lead battery industry had 20% job growth rate going into 2019, creating 92,000 jobs. Lead batteries also contribute to $26 billion of the national output. They also have a 99% recycling rate, creating additional jobs in the green energy industry, which, according to UCSUSA.org, are estimated to be above 200,000 additional jobs by 2025, and preventing 4.5 million tons of greenhouse emissions from entering the atmosphere.
In 1865, at the request of President Abraham Lincoln, she set up a bureau of records to aid in the search for missing men. There is nowhere within the hallowed grounds of Arlington National Cemetery that is more frequented by visitors than the tomb of the unknown soldier. Located on a hill on high ground, the tomb exemplifies valor and honor by remembering those who died committing brave and selfless acts with no one to bear witness to them. Think about how many more soldiers would be buried there if Lincoln had not personally trusted Clara Barton to find them and their families. She ended up finding the unmarked grave of 13,000 soldiers and over 22,000 missing men.
I don't understand how the American Red Cross is Clara's impact. All she did was take an already existing organization and put the word American behind it. And yes, she put its existence into America, but Clara had seen the success of the International Red Cross after she worked with them during the Prussian War, and when she returned to America, just lobbied for another Red Cross branch. Henry Dunant is the original founder of the original International Red Cross. Without him, the ICRC wouldn't exist. Therefore, since Clara got the idea from the ICRC in the first place, she wouldn't have founded the American Red Cross. The Red Cross wasn't her impact at all, it was Henry Dunant's.
It was Clara's impact because she brought natural disaster relief into the core mission of all of the Red Cross associations at the Geneva Convention.
I didn't say the practices weren't her impact, I said that the
You said it wasn't
organizations-
her impact at all.
Yes, I said the Red Cross.
It was her impact. And what does the Red Cross help with mostly? Natural disaster relief, which Clara Barton brought into the Red Cross.
According to redcross.org, some of the technologies they rely on include artificial intelligence, GIS, chatbots, open source software, and robotic processing, which are all monitored on computers powered by batteries. In the Red Cross's exact words, drones provide an immediate aerial perspective that helps improve situational awareness. These devices are vital for responder teams to help assess impact areas in the aftermath of disaster events. End quote. And since drones require batteries to operate, a large portion of the Red Cross's aftermath assessment isn't even possible without the battery.
In 1870 to 1876, Luigi Galvini demonstrated what we now understand to be the electrical basis of nerve impulses and provided the cornerstone of research for later inventors like Volta to create batteries. Again, proving that without another scientist's help, he wouldn't have invented the battery. And although that batteries are used in the Red Cross, batteries are used everywhere. And if they still would have been used no matter with Volta or not, because other scientists came up with his ideas as well.
Thank you for bringing up Luigi. Without Volta, modern technology would likely look very different because of a man named Luigi Galvani. In 1779, Galvani was working with frog tissues, and when he placed metals on each side of the tissue, it twitched. Thus, he deducted that electricity was always present in animal tissue. Volta thought this to be incorrect, and after a series of experiments, he proved that it was the two dissimilar metals touching the frog tissue that made it twitch, not the tissue itself. This means that without Volta, there wouldn't be anyone to dispute Galvani's theory, and we might have strange electrical contraptions involving animal tissues, and modern technologies would look very different.
Okay. Although Clara Barton was on the Union side, at times, she even provided care to the wounded Confederate soldiers at field hospitals. Eventually, she gained support and was even appointed the superintendent of nurses for the Army of James. She didn't care what side soldiers were fighting for, she only cared that they were helped. During her time, part of her work included setting up a shop to help poor women earn a living by sewing. From 1881 until 1904, Miss Barton devoted herself to building the national organization of the Red Cross and aiding in its efforts, except for 6 months in 1883 when she served as the superintendent of the Women's Reformatory Prison in Sherburne, Massachusetts.
If power in a hospital goes out, everybody in that hospital using life support or intensive care dies instantly without a battery and the backup generators to sustain that power. Not to mention heart monitors, defibrillators, body blood analyzers, thermometers, and infusion pumps, which are all emergency equipment, need batteries. Other medically applied battery-powered equipment includes surgical saws, drills, glucose monitors, cauterizers, and blood oxygen meters.
Barton assisted in giving aid at the site of many natural disasters, including the Johnstown flood and the Galveston, Texas flood of 1900. When she was well into her 70s, she went to Cuba during the Spanish-American War, riding mule wagons into the tropical climate to bring supplies to civilians and soldiers.
With the innovation of the battery, the first power plant was also constructed, which revolutionized the American economy, providing longer factory hours and made towns and cities safer, more livable, and reduced crime rates significantly. They also made police more important because they could hunt real criminals instead of the common mugger, which were very common in their time and was simply not possible without the battery.
In 1909, Barton served on an honorary advisory committee of the National Committee of the Petition to Congress for Women's Suffrage. According to rrlc.org, in addition to her work as a teacher, copyist, and humanitarian, Barton was also an ardent suffrage supporter. She was a friend of Susan B. Anthony and spoke at many suffrage conventions. According to NPS.gov, following the Battle of Cedar Mountain, she appeared at a field hospital around midnight with a wagon load of supplies. The beleaguered field surgeon later likened her to be an angel, which led to her nickname, the Angel of the Battlefield.
According to online KEDU, people touch their phones about 2,617 times a day, which with 5 billion people on mobile devices is 4.7 quadrillion times a year, which means the people that the Red Cross does help, which means the people that the Red Cross does help, 67% of them aren't in America, have cell phones, and according to redcross.org, they help approximately 100 million people globally, which means 67% of those people have cell phones. And this is being extremely generous considering most of their efforts are constrained in America, since 95% of Americans have cell phones. My point being, over 60% of the people the Red Cross impacts are also impacted by a cellular device, not even mentioning all the other ways these people are also impacted by batteries.
Although the people who have been impacted by the Red Cross might have a phone, they wouldn't be alive and they wouldn't be added to your statistics about how many times they touched their phone if the Red Cross hadn't saved their lives in the first place.
Currently, there is a planet in our solar system completely inhabited by artificial intelligence. That intelligence directly requiring battery power. This technology allows us to explore the universe and navigate planets humans couldn't dream of efficiently exploring on their own. According to NASA, batteries are crucial to space exploration, helping power satellites, rovers, and providing energy for spaceships.
The rights of women were important to Barton, specifically the right of a woman to her own property, her own children, her own home, her just individual claim before the law, to her freedom of action, to her personal liberty, as she put it. She has influenced many women to join in the medical field. There are about 3.2 million female nurses in the U.S. Many of you have probably even been under the care of a female nurse. I know I have. Barton's influence has allowed this to happen. In the picture of the women, you can see just a fraction of the women that have been influenced by Clara Barton.
A battery can do two things. The first type of battery is a non-rechargeable battery, and what it can do is convert the chemicals and chemical energy inside it and convert that into energy. After this, it outputs that energy into the receiver, which is whatever you're powering. The other type of battery is a rechargeable battery, and what those do is first absorb the energy from a separate power source, like an outlet, then it stores that energy and waits until the energy is needed, finally outputting its stored energy to the receiving source, essentially acting as a container.
The help that the Red Cross gives out today could only be possible through the donations that Clara Barton's personal letters she wrote received. If you look on your paper, you will find an early appeal for donations for disaster relief. You can see that it is not only signed by Barton, but is also signed by her committee, consisting of Frederick Douglass. She still empowers others to help people today.
How can Clara Barton's impact, even like slightly compared to the impact of the battery and all the people that the battery impacts severely against the 100 million people that are impacted by the Red Cross?
Without Clara Barton's impact in the Red Cross and bringing it to America and saving lives and thousands of lives each year, then we wouldn't have people to use a phone. We wouldn't have people to text people. You wouldn't have your statistics saying that, 60% of people touch their phone. Like, without the people who were saved by the Red Cross or had been impacted by the Red Cross, you wouldn't have those people to have statistics about.
Are you saying that without the Red Cross, everybody would be dead?
No, I'm saying that many people would be, though. Think about all the people who are hurt in natural disasters and the Red Cross helps. They help provide homes, they help provide food, they help provide care and medical supplies. Thanks to Clara Barton.
Yes, the government does the same things.
Then why isn't the government known about what the Red Cross is?
The government funds the Red Cross.
Okay.
So our solar panel is another product of the battery. So our solar panel work is first it absorbs the radiant energy from the sun in a power grid. On the negatively charged side, the energy being then transferred to the positive side of the panel. And then after this, you know where the energy is stored, it's stored in the battery.
When Clara was 30, she opened her own free public school in New Jersey, and it was so popular by the end of the first year that it had to be rebuilt. Barton's job at the patent office made her one of the very first women to be employed by the federal government, and the equal pay with men was unheard of at the time. She encountered harassment from her male co-workers and was later fired due to her being a woman. Clara Barton took things a step further than most women by going directly into the battlefields to help wounded soldiers, something only a few women were able to do. According to Britannica.com, at the outbreak of the American Civil War, Barton showed characteristic initiative in organizing facilities to recover soldiers' lost baggage and in securing medicine and supplies for men wounded in the First Battle of Bull Run.
Methane is a hydrocarbon, and according to EPA.gov, is the second most abundant greenhouse gas next to carbon dioxide, and accounts for 20% of greenhouse emissions, and is more than 25 times as potent at trapping in heat as carbon dioxide, which means we would be completely unaware of it, not for its discovery. And you know who discovered it? Alessandro Volta.
No, he did not. Benjamin Franklin discovered it. Volta was the first to experiment with it and isolate it.
Benjamin Franklin discovered, and I quote, a flammable gas.
Flammable air. And wrote about it in a paper that Volta read and then sought out for it.
Volta was the one who isolated there, and since he isolated, therefore he discovered it.
But you did say he discovered it. He did not discover it. Benjamin Franklin discovered it. He was just the first to isolate it.
If you isolate something, you discover it.
Okay.
Further rebuttal? Are we ready for final statements? Okay. Sawyer, Chloe, you have the first final statement.
Clara Barton established the Office of Correspondence with Friends of the Missing Men of the United States Army and directed a 4-year search for missing soldiers. She personally worked to help identify and mark the graves of nearly 13,000 Union dead and established the Andersonville National Cemetery in Georgia. A stamp of Barton and her image of the American Red Cross symbol was issued in 1948, and in 2019 she was announced to be part of the Government Hall of Fame. She was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame in 1973, and Clara was responsible for incorporating natural disaster relief into the core mission of the Red Cross, and her influence has changed the course of worldwide relief that carries forward to this day. Although Volta may have invented something that we use every day, Clara Barton touched lives. She saved thousands during her time and is still continuing to impact people to this day by saving millions. Without her, some of us might not even be here today. She helped change the way the women were perceived, and she brought one of the best organizations to America. Clara Barton is the most impactful person.
So you can vote for a girl without an original thought in her head who created a non-profit that would have came to be with or without her, a person whose impact cannot even begin to slightly compare to the pure ingenuity and innovation of the discoverer and isolator of methane, the creator of the internal combustion method, and of course the inventor of the battery, the most impactful person to ever live, Alessandro Volta.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give the judges a minute here to... Are you guys ready? Or do you need time to speak? Okay, all right, we'll give you a couple seconds. Mr. Willis, you want to do some flips or something while we're waiting? Oh, okay, here we go. How about that debate, boys and girls? Mrs. Kratzel, Clara Barton, Mrs. Young, Alessandro Volta, and Mr. Mendezbaugh. Volta. So congratulations to Clara Barton, our 2020 Tournament of U.S. History champion. A round of applause for both of these students. Good job, you guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get one more round. Class. Before we move on, let's give one more round of applause. That was very impressive today. All right, at this point, I am going to dismiss you. You're going to go back to your pause class. We are going to sit down. Boys, sit down or we will never sit here again. I'll dismiss you by rows as we all... Class.